Good morning. It is Monday, July 27, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, the truce between Turkey and Kurdish militants is over. A car bomb explodes in South Turkey, killing 2 police officers, wounding several more as the country grapples with a wave of violence near its southern border with Syria. U.S. President Barack Obama finishes an emotional return to his father's home country of Kenya with an impassioned speech that was steeped in pride in his own African heritage before leaving the country to his next destination, Ethiopia. And later on the show, thousands dive down each year to see the Zenobia, the Titanic of the Mediterranean, an iron and steel colossus that sank on a summer's night 35 years ago off of Cyprus. We'll take a closer look with an underwater cameraman who came back with exclusive photos. Good morning, I'm Yael Avi, and we begin this morning in Turkey, where a fragile truce between Ankara and Kurdish separatist rebels is under threat after Turkish fighter jets carried out airstrikes on Kurdish positions in Iraq. On Sunday, 2 Turkish soldiers were killed in a car bomb attack in the Kurdish-dominated southeast part of the country, an attack said to be payback for the Turkish airstrikes. Now, Turkish president has recently launched a 2-pronged cross-border offensive against Islamic State jihadists and Kurdistan worker parties from the PKK militants after a wave of violence in the country. The fighting has put a definitive end to the ceasefire between the government of Turkey and the PKK. It also complicates Turkey's newfound eagerness to participate in the American-led military effort to destroy the Islamic State. While America considers the PKK a terrorist organization, it does support Kurdish fighters in Syria known as the People's Defense Unit. Now, Turkey may have signed on to the American-led military effort to destroy the Islamic State, but the attacks show that it is determined to limit the growing power of the Kurds that has resulted from that campaign. To try and figure out what this all means vis-a-vis both the campaign against the Islamic State and the borders of Turkey, we're joined in studio by Channel 2 senior foreign affairs editor Gad Neal. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Yael. Good
With us as well, research fellow at the INSS, Galia Lindenstrauss. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, thank you.
There we go. And before we break this all down, let's take a look at the following report from Turkey and discuss.
After 2 years of ceasefire, Turkey and the Kurds are once again on a collision course. 2 Turkish police officers were killed Sunday in a car bomb in the Kurdish-dominated southeast district of Diyarbakir. Ankara quickly blamed the Kurdish militant group the PKK for the attack. Over the last 3 days, Turkey has become deeply involved on 2 new fronts, as it carried out its first airstrikes against the extremist Islamic group the IS in Syria last Friday and launched airstrikes against PKK militants in northern Iraq. Turkish officials explained their airstrikes aim at creating a safe zone across the Turkish border.
These 3 terrorist organizations have made plans with their bases turned on Turkey. These operations will continue until all of their storehouses of weapons are destroyed.
This shift in Ankara's policy comes after a series of attacks which peaked last Monday when 32 protesters were killed in the suicide bombing in Suruj, an attack linked to the IS that targeted activists who aimed to help the embattled city of Kobani. In response, the PKK killed 2 Turkish police officers on Wednesday, claiming they helped the IS to carry out the deadly attack in Suruj. On Friday, Turkish authorities arrested 590 suspects, members of the IS and the PKK, in raids across the country. During the long battle against the IS, Kurdish forces have gained international support and recognition. But now it seems the balance of forces is changing. On Sunday, the White House backed Turkey's right to strike back at Kurdish militants.
At the same time, the U.S., of course, recognizes the PKK specifically as a terrorist organization. So, again, Turkey has a right to take action related to terrorist targets, and we certainly, again, appreciate their interest in accelerating efforts against ISIL.
Now the Kurds find themselves in a very difficult position, fighting on 3 fronts against the IS, against the Turkish military, and for the sympathy of the public.
We're joined live first from Bodrum in Turkey by journalist Laura Wells. Freelance journalist Laura Wells. Laura, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So the situation, in effect, the ceasefire between the PKK and the Turkish government is over, isn't it?
It really is. Not only has PKK said that they are finished with the ceasefire, that the government has violated the ceasefire for months. They were even saying this up until a few weeks ago. And of course, with the Suruj massacre, they blamed the government for that. The government itself says that they are continuing with the ceasefire agreement, but they will also continue to with their airstrikes in northern Iraq, as well as any other skirmishes within the country. So it is really bad news for a lot of Turks who do not want to return to the bad old days of the 80s and 90s, where nearly 40,000 people died over 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. When the government says it's going to continue with the ceasefire, but yet again also bomb, how does that gel? How is that coming over, though, with the people in Turkey?
Well, the majority of Turks really do believe that PKK is a terrorist group, even people that dislike the de facto government led by the AK Party. So it does have the basic support of the people. That being said, a lot of people believe that the de facto government is going to try to use this politically to marginalize the Kurds, whether they be PKK or just regular Kurds or political Kurds, including the new pro-Kurdish HDP. The HDP right now is under fire to denounce all, any violence of the PKK. They have been doing so, but with a light touch. They don't want to alienate those that are taking up arms just because this is supposed to be a united Kurdish movement. But there's a lot of dissent, not only within Turkey, but also amongst those that are affiliates with the Syrian Kurds. And there's also a Kurdish diaspora that are all looking eventually to have some autonomy. And right now, the ultranationalist party, MHP, is calling for prosecutors in Turkey to go after HDP. They say that they are connected with terrorists and linked to terrorism. There's been some calls also from AK Party officials saying the same thing.
Okay. Laura, if you don't mind staying with us for a couple more minutes, because I'm opening this up for the studio for a second. When it comes to Turkey, Arad Yassini, Foreign Affairs Editor of Channel 2, Erdogan, I'm just looking at what happened over the course of the last several days. And one of the interesting things for me is the fact that there was one announcement that Turkey is now enabling the United States to open bases on its ground. In comes the IS attack, but is this not just an excuse, basically, to also go at it when it comes to the Kurdish population?
I see it a bit differently, Yael, with your permission. I think that what happened in the course of the last few days is that Erdogan's list of priorities changed. Up until 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, his main priority was to oust President Assad of Syria. This didn't happen. And he's contractor to do it. If the alleged allegations that he supported ISIS, the contractor to oust Assad was ISIS. Right. That was the first target for ISIS. The second target was to eliminate a Kurdish band, a Kurdish stretch along the southern border of Turkey. Both these tasks ISIS failed to fulfill. Now what happens is that there's a risk. There are few Kurdish enclaves to the south, on the southern long stretch of border between Turkey and Syria. And the Kurds are gaining power over there. And Erdogan is worried that they will join forces with the Iraqi Kurdistan and then with the Turkish Kurds within Turkey, and he cannot afford it. This is why he changed his list of priorities. His first priority now is to eliminate a Kurdish stretch. And ISIS cannot do it because they failed to do it. So he is actually joining the American campaign over there. He will get his no-fly zone as he wanted initially. That was his original term in order to join them, right. And now that's the aim. On top of it, he can also alienate the Kurdish party within Turkey, who gained power in the last election and actually eliminated his AK party from having the total majority in parliament. Exactly. But that's a bonus on top of it. But this is how I see the the shift of priorities in the last few days regarding Turkey and Syria.
Now, Gali Lindenstraat, when we look at Turkey and we look at the Kurdish plight in it, as Mr. Nir just mentioned, with the gains that the Kurds have made in the last elections and with the gains on that border, is there any chance, though, that in the future, there will be some sort of a, not just autonomous, but of a Kurdistan, or is that something that the international community will never allow?
I think in northern Iraq, I think we can expect one day that they will declare independence. They're very hesitant, they're very pragmatic, they're taking their time, but that can be a reality. In the Syrian Kurds are much weaker. They're a much smaller number. They don't have the oil that we have in northern Iraq. They don't have the 20 years of
yes.
They don't have the 20 years of autonomy that the Iraqi Kurds have. But I believe that one day also Turkey will accept that it will have a sphere of influence in northern Iraq, and it will also learn to live with the Kurds in some ways like it did in northern Iraq. What we have today, the cooperation between Turkey and northern Iraq, is something that is remarkable if we compare the relations to the past.
Right.
So I give it time. I think things
that Erdogan might actually one day live with some type of an autonomous Kurdish entity on his southern border.
We have to see if the Syrian Kurds continue their advancement. I mean, they have been proven quite efficient in countering ISIS. If they do continue their struggle, and this is becoming much more difficult, of course, now that Turkey and the US have agreed on a safe zone in western Syria. But if they do manage to do that, I think Turkey will prefer that on instability on its border. Do you think that, and Arad, I'm actually about to ask you the same thing, do you think that that is something, irrespective of what's happening just right now, because all these gains that are made against IS are actually made by Peshmerga fighters, be it on the Iraqi side or be it on the Turkish side. The world will owe them something, or am I being naive at this point?
I think you are naive at this point. The world does not give any guarantees to any form of cooperation on the ground, and it will be, again, according to the actual list of priorities at the time that we will be able to analyze it. Regarding Erdogan and a Kurdish state, I think that at the moment, as I said earlier, he cannot afford a Kurdish band on southern Turkey because of the affiliation to the Turkish Kurds.
Right.
They had a peace process recently. They called it off eventually, but they may call it on again. You see, Erdogan is extremely pragmatic regarding to the way he sees the situation at the moment, and once he would feel that he can contain the Kurds, he would go after Assad again, and then he may stop the cooperation with the Americans. We've seen Ben Rhodes, the senior advisor to President Obama, actually succumbing to all the demands of the Turks in order to enable the coalition aircrafts use its land bases air bases, in Turkey, in order to use the aircraft from there, which wasn't allowed up until few days ago for so many months of operation. Right. So things can change on a daily basis.
Dramatically.
Yes.
And is there a chance, Galia, just really quickly, is there a chance that there will be a collaboration? Because at the end of the day, it seems like the battle against the IS is not viable without the Kurds on any front, because they're the only ones who are making gains. Any type of cooperation that we can see between that side of Turkey, I mean, isn't that something that Turkey needs to support from the air the Kurdish fighters on the ground that are fighting ISIS? Ultimately, isn't that something that needs to be done, right?
Yes, that's a dilemma, and what the Americans now did. On the one hand, they reached an agreement with Turks, which is good news actually, because people thought that Turkey and U.S. relations are unrepairable.
True.
But they did reach the agreement. On the other hand, it's on the expense of the Kurds.
As
so
usual.
We'll have to see how they manage to fix this.
To fix the things up, to fix it, in the near and the far future. I want to thank you both for being with me on this story. Laura Wells, sadly, all the time we have it, fabulous always to have you with us from Turkey as we move along. Yeah, but as the world reels from the ISIS ongoing expansion or the battle against it and its messes, U.S. President Barack Obama is taking his time out in East Africa, not without controversy. Wrapping up the first ever presidential visit to Kenya, Obama clashed with the president there as he called for gender equality and gay rights, a subject Kenyan President Kenyatta called a non-issue, to quote him. Obama made some encouraging remarks regarding Kenya's development and talked about his own personal history in the country before taking off for his second stop in Ethiopia, which he will be arriving to today. But this time, he wasn't greeted by cheering crowds in Ethiopia. In fact, Ethiopians seemed far less enthusiastic over his visit. To find out why, we are still joined in studio by Channel 2 Foreign Affairs Senior Editor Arad Nir. Let's take a look at the following report from Africa, from the American president's visit to Africa, and break it down from there.
Having concluded his two-day visit to Kenya, U.S. President Barack Obama traveled to neighboring Ethiopia to become the first sitting American president to do so. Although a strategic security ally and a focus of investment for the U.S., Ethiopia is also known for its abuse of political and democratic freedoms.
What we need to do is just look through the series of reports by the State Department of the United States, which highlights numerous cases of human rights violation, torture, even killings.
Obama's trip to Ethiopia, a nation brought to its knees by a communist dictatorship in the 1970s and war and famine in the 1980s, isn't the only matter of controversy. While visiting Kenya, the president angered locals when he told the country, which outlaws homosexuality, that discriminating against gays was like treating people differently because of race.
Obama could be considering from another different perspective, maybe from a secular point of view. But for us, we are talking on a Christian point of view.
Obama addressed Kenya's most sensitive issues, including sexual assault, domestic violence and genital mutilation, highlighting the importance of educating and employing women. But he also focused his message on helping Kenyans to thrive and warning that corruption must be tackled.
I'm here as a friend who wants Kenya to succeed. And the pillars of that success are clear: strong democratic governance, development that provides opportunity for all people and not just some, a sense of national identity that rejects conflict for a future of peace and reconciliation.
Despite excitement that preceded his visits, voices of disappointment and discouragement overshadowed the presidential trip, which marks perhaps a final attempt by the first African-American president to shore up his legacy on the African continent.
Joined in studio also by Dr. Irit Beck from the Department of Middle Eastern and African History at Tel Aviv University. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm going to start first also with Senior Foreign Affairs Editor at Channel 2, Arad Nir. How important is this trip for Africa, not for the American president first?
See, Barack Obama is not the first American president to visit Africa.
Exactly.
Africa has become must stop for a recent American president. But he is the first American president with African roots to visit Africa. And I think this is the significance of this visit. Many analysts were trying to alleviate some economical aspects to this visit. I tend to disagree with it. Okay, Africa is an emerging market, all that is true. But when Obama was standing there, talking to them about values, about Western values in Kenya, he was talking as if he is one of them. He didn't empower upon them, And I think this is the significance of this visit. Not what he will say in Ethiopia today and tomorrow when he will meet with all the leaders of the African Union, but what he said yesterday about values, about civil rights, about equality, about women's rights, all this, he was standing there, the President of the United States of America, but with a standing point as one who has Kenyan roots. Right. He was talking about his visits there as a youngster, about his father, about his grandfather, about the way they suffered, about the way they tackled this suffering, and this is what gave him very, very a firm position regarding the peoples, and not, as you mentioned, regarding the leadership.
Or the leadership. But it's fabulous that you mentioned the roots, because it's clear that Obama is coming from a point of view that is very personal. Case in point, I just want to show you, the cultural heritage, and showing that, this is one of it, part of it, one of his homelands. Let's take a look at the American president actually showing, how connected he is, heritage-wise, to the country, to the continent.
Clinton was dancing, Bush was dancing, but nothing like Obama.
That. We have that.
Compared to Michelle.
Exactly. Actually, nobody can compare to Michelle. I have that video as well. Yeah. But, Dr. Beck from Tel Aviv University, when we look at Africa and these visits, as Radnir mentioned, American presidents go there. I covered one of Clinton's trips there, the battle against AIDS. But at the end of the day, nobody really cares about Africa in the Western world. I'm sorry, I'm going to put it up front that way. There are horrible things that are happening. There's a lot of corruption. There's Sudan that everybody's given up on. There's Boko Haram. What does Africa need from the West in order to actually put itself forward?
I think that really Africa is an emerging power in the world, and I think that Obama is aware of it. Of course, there is a personal angle to this visit, but there is also national aspect to his visit. And I think Africa is very important to United States, not just as an economic power, and it is an economic power now. Like Ethiopia is one of the 5 most rapidly developed states in the world today, yet there is a strategic value to this visit, because both Kenya and Ethiopia are one of the best allies of United States in the eastern part of the continent. So there is a huge importance from strategic point of view to look at this visit, because it's some kind of declaration about the power of the West and its allies in this part of the world. There is now a lot of issues between Muslims and Christians in Africa too. Yes. Yeah, not just worldwide, but in Africa too. And this is some kind, I believe, of declaration about the power of the West and its importance in the international arena by this visit.
Yeah. And that said, Radnir, as you mentioned, basically the one of the most important and the differences of this visit and other American presidents, that he will be the first one meeting with the African Union leaders, isn't it?
Well, the African Union is also a relatively new entity. They had aspirations to be like the European Union, but it doesn't exactly work like this. And this is not the only difference between Europe and Africa. Yes, Obama will try to give some political aspects to this visit, to get some gains regarding Sudan. You mentioned the chaos there in Sudan, which the West cannot solve and cannot outsolve.
And this is the ISIS of Africa.
Well, Boko Haram is part of this ISIS problem that the whole world is tackling, is dealing with, or trying to deal with, and he would try to bring some advice and help regarding the political scene over there in Africa. Again, I don't have much expectations regarding this. As you mentioned earlier, even though that Africa is considered, as Dr. Beck just mentioned, an emerging power in the world, its ailments are still there. And as long as the world will deal with its corrupt leaders in order to fuel this emergence of economical power, then Africa will be a sick continent and will carry on to be a sick continent. But as we mentioned all along this program this morning, the interests of the West are very different to the interests of the locals. And this is why I think that, you know, we've been talking here in the studio many times about the Obama doctrine regarding the way he's dealing with conflicts in the Western world, in the Northern Hemisphere. I think that this may apply in Africa too,
well.
But he won't have the time to do it.
So
that's the problem.
Thing. He doesn't have the time to do it, and this feels a little bit like a vanity trip, isn't it? It's the trip that almost like the Queen has to do towards the end of her...
You know, it's quite sad regarding American politics now that Obama could only go on this trip 18 months before he leaves office. Earlier than that, it would hurt him so much at home that he couldn't have done it, and he didn't do it. And, you know, he mentioned it yesterday, that, you know, his critics at home are probably looking for, saying that he's looking for his birth certificate in Kenya now. You know, it was a joke, but it was a very bitter joke, because it actually held him back.
Held him back from going there for over the course of all that time. No, very, very, very true. Aradnir, I want to thank you for being with us this morning. Also, Dr. Beck, thank you so much for being with us this morning. As we said, the American president is in Africa. A very colorful, incredibly interesting trip. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, Mr. Nir, who knows, it's not going to make much change when it comes to the ailing continent.
It won't.
When we get back, something entirely different. Yesterday saw a spur of violence in a place in Israel/Palestinian territory, so to speak, when it comes to Jerusalem on Temple Mount on the holy day, when it comes to Israelis. Scuffles broke out in the holiest place for all religions, turned a lot of them, made many people here concerned when it comes to that Temple Mount, that usually when scuffles turn out there, what can that lead to? And for the first time in many, many, many months, Israeli police entered the Temple Mount part of that area. We are going to take a closer look at the event yesterday, as well as at the heightened security that is on today. Our reporter Ron Friedman at the scene in Jerusalem with us, and we'll take a closer look at what happened yesterday, so do stay with us. Of course, now, as in every morning, let's have a listen to the morning headlines. Good morning, I-24 News. On this July... You're beginning to sing it. I don't know if you've noticed.
Do you know the tune? Do you recognize the tune? Or?
No.
I'm just making it up as I go. Okay.
2015. And yes, this is the morning edition, and you are here because Ami Kaufman is here to discuss the news we've missed while scanning the headlines. Yes, the man, the bow tie. Go ahead.
Right. We're going to start with Yemen. This whole ceasefire thing just is not working. It is not happening. This is supposed to be a 5-day ceasefire that's going to start on Sunday at midnight. About 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes before ceasefire went into place, the coalition forces killed about 10 Houthi rebels in the Abyan province. About an hour and a half later, the Houthis were shelling back in the third largest city called Taiz, and that was pretty much the end of it. You know, it's not going to happen. So that there will not be a 5-day ceasefire.
I'm trying to think if the last 5-day humanitarian one held for approximately.
That was in May.
That was in May, exactly. That held for 5 days, but which that country needs so desperately.
Right, they're on the verge of famine, food shortages, fuel shortages. It's already the poorest country in the Middle East. I mean, so and the Houthis are saying that they were not committed to the humanitarian pause because it was declared by the coalition by themselves. So they weren't consulted.
They weren't consulted over. Right, that would make it a problem. Yes.
President Bashar Assad of Syria gave a rare speech yesterday, and he was acknowledging that his army is tired. It is fatigued. Actually, Syria's army once had around 300,000 people, but it's been roughly halved in size by deaths, defections, and a rise in draft dodging. Over the last
4 years. Right.
Yeah, but he's saying not to worry. It's normal that an army gets tired, and he says the word defeat does not exist in the Syrian army's dictionary. So, Assad is, of course, very...
No, it's amazing to see because, you know, you look also at the scenario of him going up to give the speech. Very much, to me, it looked very Saddam-esque. that you still have the palace, you still have all this grandeur, you still have all these, but, you know, and at the end of the day, though, the Syria, a country that no longer exists in many ways.
I have a feeling he's kind of feeling so sure about himself because of the Iranian deal, where he thinks that he's going to probably see a lot of funds coming into his direction, where he can continue this war and basically keep on killing.
No, and it's something that actually we discussed in the first half hour. Turkey also, so it seems, is understood, because Erdogan was the first man who wanted to see Assad go, but his soul sort of, you know, resorted himself to the fact that Assad is there to stay. That's what the international community is gesturing with whatever is left of his part of Syria.
He's not going away soon.
He's not going away,
And speaking of the Iran deal, which I just mentioned, Secretary of State John Kerry said a few days ago, just before the weekend started, that if the bill, if the deal is not approved by Congress, Israel will be more isolated. And Israeli officials are rejecting this immediately. But I want to just first show our viewers exactly what John Kerry said at that Council on Foreign Relations.
Well, let's have a listen.
So, folks, I got to tell you, if this continues, what I'm witnessing, where there's this fear that is governing and emotion that is governing people's thinking about this program, I fear that what could happen is if Congress were to overturn it, our friends in Israel could actually wind up being more isolated and more blame.
Interesting. Now, the Israeli officials, they, over the weekend, they jumped on that real fast, and they said, officials said, these are thinly veiled efforts to muzzle criticism.
Thinly veiled efforts to muzzle criticism. Not only that, some even came out flat out calling it, you know, threats, whatnot,
exactly,
et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. This is an official to the New York Times said this is a regrettable attempt to intimidate Israel. Will not prevent us from voicing our concerns about this deal, which poses direct threats to Israel's security.
And by the way, I have to say, on the Council of Foreign Relations, that's not a stage that, first of all, anybody usually stands on, sits on, or gives a threat. It's this big think tank in New York of, no, really, that a lot of people just come and sip wine and discuss world affairs. But
amazing. And Mohammad Javad Zarif is starting his Middle East tour, basically with Gulf states, trying to reassure them that everything is okay after the deal. You know, these are Sunni states that are scared that after the Iran deal, the Shiite state of Iran will be much more powerful than it already is. And he's trying to say, look, you don't have a problem with me.
Going back to your first item, this is the big battle. It's the battle between the Gulf states and Iran. It's what's going on in Yemen right now.
So he is going to Kuwait, he's going to Qatar, and tomorrow he will be in Iraq and trying to make sure that everybody is feeling all right, not to worry. That all we have to do is fight ISIS together. Now everybody's talking about Jonathan Pollard suddenly because they're wondering, you know, that if there's some sort of linkage between this and the Iran deal. But now over the weekend, both Israel and the U.S. are denying that he probably will
Which means it's probably happening, you know that.
He probably will be released by the end of the year, but it's just on schedule. He was supposed to sit for 30 years. He was arrested in 1985 as an Israeli spy. It just happened that, you know, it's happening, you know, when the Iran deal took place.
The Iran deal is taking place. Yes, you can.
And my last Iran thing, Mike Huckabee, who was running for president for the GOP as a GOP candidate, had an amazing headline quote. He said, this president's foreign policy is the most feckless in American history. It is so naive that he would trust the Iranians. By doing so, he will take the Israelis and march them to the door of the oven.
Now, we have to stop on this one for a moment because it's, I mean, I know that every Republican is trying to sell himself to the Jewish vote. But there's one thing, and I'm going to become slightly controversial here because we know what that line spells. This is reminiscent to the Holocaust.
Of course.
This is it, Well, first of all, I always feel that if you're not Jewish, don't touch the Holocaust. You know, in some ways, you know, let's not use the Holocaust as a campaign thing in any way, shape, or form unless you're from this country or to that respect.
And have you noticed that how the more religious or Christian, like religious you are or evangelical you are, the more fanatic you are when it comes to your statements about Israel? I mean, this is just...
No, and let me, but not only that, the more fanatic you are, then I can always lead back to the whole evangelical agenda with it. Why do they like Israel so much? Because this is the place that's supposed to eventually lead to the rapture where everybody dies.
Everybody, including the Jews.
Exactly. So there's that. But, and one last one. Wow.
Okay, well, Trump, you remember how...
yes.
You know, you remember how I said it would be interesting to see the first poll that comes out after his remarks about John McCain not being a war hero, and there was some suspicion that the numbers might actually go down. boy, was everybody wrong, including me. I'm going to eat my hat on that one.
No, completely.
The numbers are up. He is leading the pack now, according to the CNN poll. Trump is leading Bush. Trump has 18%, and Jeb Bush is trailing by 15%. This is the latest poll. Trump is getting just stronger and stronger and stronger. Not only that, this poll suggests that Republican voters haven't had their fill. A majority, 52%, say they'd like to see him continue his run for the GOP nomination. This is after, of course, he threatened that he might run as a third-party independent.
This is unbelievable. Elbows his way to the top. This is, that's a mild understatement. But if we are looking at a scenario where this cannot happen,
I don't
where
know,
Donald
but
Trump is leading
I'll
the
tell you
GOP.
What, the Huffington Post said it wasn't going to cover him in their politics segment. They're going to do it in their entertainment section. That's a big mistake. This is the real thing. This is a real campaign. People are going to vote for him. He is the voice of the Republican people right now. Take it seriously.
Take it seriously. Ami Kaufman locked with me in studio because we're moving from global headlines to the headlines closest to home where we're sitting. In clashes that erupted between Palestinian Muslim worshippers and Israeli police yesterday at Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Violence broke out when a group of more than 800 Jews entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex to mark Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the month of Av. It's a fast day where Jews mourn the destruction of their temple. It's a very tumultuous day, to say the least, usually in the region. Now, Palestinians who opposed Jewish prayer at the site threw stones and fireworks while police fired stun grenades after security forces entered the Al-Aqsa compound before entering inside the mosque itself, something the authorities are reluctant to do, usually something that happens at very, very violent times. Now, tensions were already high after a Jewish woman publicly made insulting comments about the Prophet Muhammad last week, and thus the story of the Middle East continues. Let's first take a look at the latest report about what happened there yesterday. Break it down from there.
After relatively quiet months at the controversial Temple Mount compound in Jerusalem, riots erupted Sunday as dozens of masked Palestinian youths clashed with Israeli security forces. The violence came on the major annual Jewish fast day, mourning the destruction of both Jewish temples, which stood at the site, which Muslims call the Noble Sanctuary. Israeli security forces were on high alert in advance, expecting hundreds of Jewish worshippers at the Western Wall, which is adjacent to a volatile site. The clashes began after the Palestinian youths barricaded themselves inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, where they had collected an arsenal of stones, wooden planks, fireworks, and Molotov cocktails. When police approached the northern staircase of the mosque, they were met with a barrage of projectiles, including cement blocks and iron bars. A number of Israeli police officers were lightly wounded after fighting their way into the compound.
The Israeli police in Jerusalem were prepared ahead of time after masked Palestinians inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque threw stones, rocks and boulders at police officers at the Mughramin Gate. Our police units entered inside the Temple Mount area in order to deal with the disturbances and quickly took control of the situation.
The Jordanian government, who acts as the custodian of the holy site, condemned Israel over the unrest, saying it tramples the feelings of Muslim worshippers. In a different incident, a Jewish youth who arrived at the Temple Mount entrance while wearing phylacteries used for Jewish mourning prayers was arrested for disobeying police orders to go back to the checkpoint. For long years, the compound, holy to both Jews and Muslims, has been one of the most tense flashpoint locations in this already sensitive city. As has been proven more than once, a flare-up in the compound has inflamed the entire area.
Let's go live straight to our deputy editor, Ron Friedman, who's standing by in Jerusalem at the overlooking the scene of the mayhem, the scene of the historical mayhem. Ron, tensions this morning in Jerusalem. What are you feeling?
Hi, good morning, Yael. Indeed, tensions are still high here in the city. Driving in to this point on the Mount of Olives, just overlooking the old city, we saw a lot of police presence. And I understand that inside the old city, police forces are also boosted, alert is high. Events like the ones that happened yesterday have been pretty rare in recent months, but there's a long history of them, going back 10 and 20 years. And from our experience, or from experience here in the region, they don't end in one go. What happened yesterday will will possibly be followed up. We'll see possibly more clashes, more sporadic attacks. Like the ones we saw yesterday in the days to come. You know, this place, this geography that we're at, the Temple Mount, the Haram al-Sharif, many call it, you know, one of the most volatile or one of the most tumultuous places in the world, definitely in the region, holy to Jews and Muslims as well, and the city itself to the Christians.
Now, Ron, also when we're looking at the incident yesterday, that many security forces say that it was not pre-planned, but that security forces entering the actual prayer site, the actual part that is so much in contention by everybody there, entering the Temple Mount. What was the reason for that? Because people are saying, was that really necessary at that point in time?
Well, police are saying that they only entered for a few moments and only for like a few meets. They needed to barricade the doors to lock in the protesters. Now, the people who were you know, attacking or clashing with the police yesterday, it's a group of self-proclaimed guardians of the temple. They're calling themselves in Arabic the Murabitun, and they were well prepared. They were masked. Police released images from inside showing they had prepared Molotov cocktails. They prepared fireworks. You know, planks of wood. Yeah, it wasn't a spontaneous protest. Something was in the works there. So
it seems as though police forces say, Ron, staying with us as we're joined on the phone by Dr. and Sheikh Youssef Al-Nachir, spokesperson for the Waqf at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning.
I want to ask for you, first of all, this morning in Tentmai at the area, is it quiet? And what, you know, when it comes to what happened yesterday, what is the reaction of the, what is the reaction to the entering, actually the actual entering into the mosque of Israeli police forces?
This morning, so far so well. We hope that it will be calm. Concerning yesterday, it was very strange, very odd, and this is not really accepted by my administration as Awqaf. Yesterday, Muslims were prevented from visiting the site, from performing their prayer at the morning, and that really is not accepted.
Now, when it comes to the claims that there was actually, you know, Molotov cocktails and stones set up in the mosque itself to try to, that this was an orchestrated attack. What is your reaction to that? That's what Israeli police are saying.
Actually, stones, whenever, if there is a stone, it's a reaction for the provocation visit, for the odd behaviors of the certain visitors who are coming to the mosque with a political message, and as response for the harassment of the police against the people who were gathered in the mosque.
And the only thing that we can say, I think, in the little time we have, I want to thank you, first of all, Sheikh Youssef Al-Nachir, for joining us this morning. Ron Friedman, as well, overlooking that magnificent site that sadly has been the location for so much bloodshed over the course of several decades, but hopefully quiet will remain this morning. When we get back, something entirely different. Yes, we are going to take you underwater to exclusively look at these amazing pictures of the Titanic of the Mediterranean. So do stay with us. Before anything else, the morning headlines, as we do it every morning. Welcome back. It is still Monday, July 27th, 2015. I know that because Amin Kaufman swore on the life of his children, and that's the day.
Well, okay.
Oh, yeah. And it is still the morning edition on I-24 News. I am still Yael Avi. Thank you for staying with us, because the next one is actually fascinating. You should have. So, we're moving to the sea. An iron and steel colossus that sank on a summer's night 35 years ago off Cyprus is now considered one of the world's best shipwreck dives. Thousands dive down each year to see the Zenobia. the Titanic of the Mediterranean. Take a look at that, which is slumped on its port side at a depth of 40 meters off the island. That's very deep. Like the Titanic, which sank in the Atlantic in 1912. Now, the Zenobia came to grief on its maiden journey on its way to the Syrian port of Tartus. Its first trip, and it went down. To hear more about interesting details about this journey, and of course, to see some of it, that's what we're here for, we're joined in studio by underwater cameraman, a very brave man, Amir Weitzman. Amir, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
It's wonderful to have you with us. First, let's take a look at the following report about the Zenobia and break it down from there.
Hoping to take a closer peek at one of Larnaca's hidden treasures, these divers are on a quest to explore the Zenobia, a Swedish ferry that sank on her maiden voyage to Cyprus more than 30 years ago. Now a marine-protected artificial reef, the wreck helps enhance the biodiversity of the area and restock dwindling fish life. It's also become a magnet for divers from all over the world. Andrei is only 16, but he already has 205 dives under his belt, and he's pleased with dive number 206.
This is one of the biggest wrecks in the world. Yeah, also it's very nice that the weather is good, you don't have any current, so you get just pleasure to travel all around this ship.
The Zenobia has contributed to the creation of an alternative form of tourism on the island, diving tourism, the main point of discussion at this conference with participants like Jonathan Wilson from the Cyprus Dive Center Association. His idea, sink another wreck to create one more artificial reef and bring more money to the economy.
The Zenobia, we believe, brings in around 14 million euros a year. Another wreck of around 100 meters long should bring in somewhere between 6 million. Even if you call it 3 million each year, it's a very small amount of money to buy a wreck and sink it, 300,000, to bring in 3 million euros each year for the next 20, 30, 50 years.
The Zenobia is handled by the Ministry of the Environment, which says it's working closely with the Ministry of Tourism. And the minister is fully aware of the site's potential.
We are in the process of creating a network of marine protected areas and artificial reefs. We will definitely spend money in the area close to the wreck there.
Non-divers also get to admire the wreck, like on this free boat ride, part of a Zenobia Week organized by the Larnaca Tourism Board. In this cramped space below deck, tourists are hoping to catch a glimpse of the ship through tiny glass windows. Income from tourism accounts for around 12% of Cyprus's GDP and is credited for being instrumental in the country's 3-year battle against recession, with sites like the Zenobia helping breathe new life into its bailed-out economy.
Joined in studio by underwater cameraman Asaf Amir. Look at me. It's Monday. But it is Monday. Amir, I'm taking a look. I mean, that was a report clearly that was done by a news agency, not you. But you, first of all, how did you get to the Zenobia?
I heard about the Zenobia from a colleague of mine, Yair Putzker, from the diving center Putzker in Aria.
Putzker?
Putzker.
Okay. It's a good name to dive with, yes.
And he told me, I finished to dive in Israel. I've seen everything that Israel has to offer. And he told me, listen, you have to come with me to Cyprus to dive in the Zenobia. And I said, what is the Zenobia? I never heard about this. So I looked at the internet, I checked up, and I understand it's a very interesting wreck. Considered one of the 5th important wreck diving in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you get really, really interested. Now, how deep? We know that it's 40 meters deep, right?
The Zenobia started at 16 meters. You can start diving in 60 meters because she's tilted to the port side 45 degrees. And you can start diving from 60 meters and you go until 42. But the importance of the Zenobia is to go inside the wreck, to penetrate the wreck.
Okay.
That's what...
for penetration of the wreck, very important. But that said, I'm killing Ami here. But that said, the story of the Zenobia, just tell us a little bit about that, because it's like the Titanic. It goes on the water 35 years ago and immediately goes down. What was its... Well, you start.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, the Zenobia was built in Malmö, Sweden. She was a ferry that carried trucks. Ferry from the type of roll-in, roll-out.
Right.
Trucks going from the back side and deploying in the port from the front side. It belonged to Express Line, a company by the name Express Line, a Syrian and Cyprus company.
Right.
And she was supposed to bring equipment from Cyprus to Syria, and they said the equipment was a military equipment, and the rumor said also uranium for Syria and for the PLO in Lebanon, arms and trucks and military equipment.
Now, when you went down there, as we're seeing now, this amazing footage, what did you see in the wreckage?
I saw the trucks, 100 trucks or maybe more. I saw military equipment, but only clothes. I didn't see ammunitions or guns or something like that. I saw clothes, winter clothes for soldiers.
Right.
And I saw the captain car, the Lada, the blue Lada.
It's amazing to probably go into this world of that's underwater for so many years. There are theories about the Zenobia that it had kind of fishy, so to speak. It had a fishy agenda, so to speak, right?
All the old people in Cyprus can say that the Mossad, the Israeli Mossad, sank the Zenobia. What happened to the Zenobia is only a problem in the computer that balanced the water, the pump water to balance the water, and they said that the Israeli Mossad fixed supposedly. And the woman said the 6 Mossad agents were captured in Cyprus. In Cyprus the day after. And a plane at night, 4 in the morning, came a plane from Israel and took them to Israel back. This is the rumor.
The rumor, the urban myth, so to speak, right? Which is always hard to collaborate. But I think whenever Israelis go anywhere in the world, immediately a Mossad story is attached to it in one way, shape, or form. Now it's become such an amazing sight. But those dives that you do in a place like that, and the pictures that you brought in. First of all, what's the most interesting thing that you saw down there?
I think the engine room. Not a lot of people have the chance to go inside the engine room because I know Chris, the owner of the Queen Zenobia, the ship that takes you to the Zenobia, and Andreas, the owner. Right. They took me inside the engine room. It's amazing. You have to understand that the Zenobia is like a time capsule. She sank and nothing was taken out of it.
Wow.
You can see the eggs, you can see the bones of the cows, you can see the trunks, you can see the trucks. Everything is still down there. You cannot move anything because it's tilted 45 degrees. If you move something, all the ship can collapse on you. So it's very delicate because the metals, the change, are old and rusty and can break.
And can break. I mean, it's amazing that actually things are maintained that way underwater for so many years, right?
Nobody touched it. There is containers that are still sealed. That's why people don't know what's inside the trunks. The manifest of the ship is disappeared. So disappeared.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Year by year and month by month, I got more details. I find more details in the web. People come to me and say to me, listen, that's what happened.
This is
last time I was in the Zenobia, like 2 weeks ago, on the Zenobia week, I met new people. The new people show me new sites inside the wreck. The Zenobia is a secret. I think it's a great story for a feature film.
It's a phenomenal story for a feature film. I'm going to go with the old Cyprus woman and her theory, because it just sounds very sexy. Mira, I want to thank you. You're locked in studio with us. It's amazing stuff. It's I always tip my chapeau for people who actually manage to go 40 meters down in the water. Unbelievable stuff. Thank you for being with us. Do stay, because Ami, yes, it's that time of the day. The Spiral Viral, that is the web review.
Right. We're going to talk a little about Kenya. Because, as Barack Obama was there.
Yes,
Did you know that there were at least 8 children that were born in Kenya on Friday when he was visiting, and they gave their children some kind of strange names because of this visit, this presidential visit.
Such as?
3 newborn girls, as you can see in the headlines, 3 newborn girls were named Michelle Malia and Malia Sasha, but some boys...
Wait, one name was Malia Sasha and one name Malia Sasha. Okay.
But some boys were named Air Force One.
No.
In fact, one boy was actually named Air Force One Barack Obama.
Okay.
And the mother said, this is the mother said, I have decided to call my baby Air Force One Barack Obama so that we can all remember Obama's visit to Kenya because it is a huge blessing.
Huge blessing. That always makes me wonder about, well, yeah. It's like you give a kid a name and then he has to go to preschool with that name.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
He's just going to be, he's going to have a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's going to,
The other kid might have it a little easier. He's just called Air Force One. And his mom said, I have been told that it is the best airplane because it carries a very powerful leader of America who is also a Kenyan.
Always wanted to name my child after a plane. Yes, and?
Sticking with the Obamas, Malia Obama is having a wonderful, wonderful summer. I'm actually pretty jealous of her in New York City. She's doing an internship at HBO. She's helping out the site of Girls, the show
Girls. It's like a dream job for a teenager.
Isn't that amazing? And she's going out for these the best restaurants. First of all, she ate at this place with the White House chef. At a place called La Esquina, and just before that, a few days before that, she was with her dad and her sister at a really posh place called Upland. And she's also spotted going to cinema to see the Stanford Prison Experiment, which is a really big hit now in the States. She's just having the summer of her life in New York City.
Yes,
this is what I wanted to do.
As I say, to be the daughter of the president. Yes, who hard life, boo.
But isn't it all with the Secret Service all the time?
It's all with the Secret Service. Who cares? I don't know. But think about it. First of all, you always get the best seat. You always get the best table. They probably give you like these little knicknacks. You always get the free dessert.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Sticking with New York and Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, of course, he's about to leave in less than 2 weeks, but it looks like there's a little damper here in the celebration because a comedian called Wyatt Cenac, who used to work on the show, he was a reporter, one of the reporters, the fake reporters on the show.
Writers,
had an interview with Marc Maron on his show, WTF, and Mark asked him, so did you get along with Jon Stewart? And he said, not really that well. Wyatt once said that when Jon did an impression of Herman Cain in the early elections back then, a black man who was running for president, he said it sounded kind of racist, and it reminded him of a character called Kingfish, which is from an old show in the 50s called Amos and Andy. He was like a typical black
or very stereotypical in a racist type way.
And Jon Stewart did not like that at all, that comparison, and told him, I'm done with you, F word and all that stuff, and it just blew up. It was a really big blow up, and this is
the thing is, I saw this all over the press over the weekend. I think, it's so hard to address this issue without stepping into a landmine, verbally, so to speak. But at the end of the day, just 2 weeks before the man is finishing up, and with all due respect, I think shows behind the scenes have blow-ups. But yes, this is
it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yes.
Kim Kardashian,
of course.
And of course on TMZ, which is our favorite. She tweeted, that she had an idea for Twitter. I just emailed Twitter to see if they can add an edit feature so that when you misspell something, you don't have to delete it and repost. Let's see. And just half hour later, the Twitter co-founder went to tweet himself. His name is Jack Dorsey, and he said, "Great idea. We're always looking at ways to make things faster and easier." And you know what? I just want to ask. Do you really think that Twitter did not think at all about editing their posts with all the genius minds that they have in Twitter? They need Kim Kardashian
for that. And I also even venture and say, Ami Kaufman, if you write tomorrow to Twitter, I do not think you will get the same response.
I do not have how many followers? 30 million followers?
No, exactly. And
sticking with the Kardashians, Caitlyn Jenner went to a Boy George concert, Culture Club. She actually introduced the show. And we have some, and she danced, and she introduced it. Let's see it.
Please.
Thank you. Caitlyn Jenner in the house for her
That's Caitlyn. She's moving. She's got the moves. She's happy.
Dancing?
This is Candace Cain. I do not know who Candace Cain is. That's the limit of my celebrity. But I don't know. Apparently, it's someone important in Hollywood, and she's having a good time.
Caitlyn Jenner is in the house. Yes.
And just very quickly, you remember Breaking Bad, the show Breaking Bad?
Best show of
so
the
apparently, it's over. I didn't really get into it. You were into it though.
Very much.
I'm sorry. So you're gonna like this because there are two places. There's one in Istanbul. There was a coffee shop that opened up. It's themed by Breaking Bad. Let's see some pictures.
Okay.
It's called Walter's Coffee, of course.
Oh, great.
And you can have
sprinkled
with
crack.
Blue meth. Let's see the pictures. You can have blue meth cupcakes. That's
Brilliant.
the blue meth.
That's the blue meth cupcake. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sadly, all
and
the time
people are all
we
dressed.
have.
Yeah.
No, I know, but we're going to leave you with, crack sprinkled donuts.
And there's also an RV in London that opened up where you can make your own drinks according to recipes like Walter White.
Breaking Bad. That's great. right. That's such a very educational for the kids. Ami Kaufman, thank you. Emil, the diver, the man, the legend. Wonderful. And of course, do stay with us. When we get back, we have the political Instagram moments of the week that was, or one of our favorite bits. Of course, like in every morning now, the morning headlines. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I-24 News Morning Edition on this July 27, 2015. And it's important day for you to be with us this morning because, first of all, yes, we have Tal Shalev in studio. And I don't know if you know, but it was Tal Shalev's birthday.
Yeah.
Yes, so Al Gore, no, just kidding. Biden? No. Kerry? Yes. Okay, if John Kerry is listening, it was Tal Shalev's birthday, but that is not why we're gathered here today. We are here because we're very happy to introduce lifestyle expert Maya Kramer.
Yes.
I did that right. Who's here with everything that's new in the fashion lifestyle, everything you must know. I'm very glad you're here because look at me.
You look great.
Exactly.
You look great in the morning.
Brilliant. You're hired. Now,
yes.
Yes, lifestyle. This summer, which is an awful season to try and look good.
I know. Well, we're lucky because the trend of the moment is minimalism. Less is more, ladies. Women are looking to keep everything cleaner, simpler. You know, we're so busy and we've got so much going on and so much information. So we're starting with the exterior.
I love that,
less
actually.
makeup, our nails are cleaner, colors are more solids, less accessories.
Both Tal and I are like, our nails have not been manicured.
I think we manicured them together last time. Yeah.
Okay, less is more indeed.
Yes, and artificial is over.
Amen.
Over. I know, because it was like getting out of control.
Has America heard about this? Because I don't know. Okay, yes.
So yeah, we're going to talk about, so we're looking for the new natural, right? So this brings me to Nicole Kidman, the much discussed August issue of US Vogue.
Okay.
So Nicole Kidman, everyone's saying Photoshop, how is it possible that a 50-year-old woman looks like she's 25?
It looks like she's 25, although she's also one of these stars, I have to say, that has done many things to her face that basically altered it also.
Right.
Yeah.
They did a good job, but she still went, I know.
Wow.
Yep, totally.
No, that's Photoshop,
but
come on.
So it's not. This is all work done to her face, but she does go natural. Here, we can see an interview with her.
Oh, okay.
Where you can see that it's not Photoshop. This is what she looks like.
Let's take a look.
What's your favorite fashion trend of all time?
Black tights.
What trend do you hope doesn't exist in 100 years?
Texting.
What did you wear to the prom?
I wore, well, it's not called a prom here. It's called a formal. And I wore a vintage black
no, I'm speechless.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, first of all, you have to be a movie star, a gazillionaire, and enough money to Botox your face.
Yeah, basically. That's her story. Well, it was a big controversy, and Marc Jacobs came up and spoke against everyone. And, you know, I mean, I think the pioneer of this whole era of natural is Kate Middleton. Kate Middleton, did you guys know that she did her own makeup for her wedding?
I'm not, but really?
This woman can have a team of makeup artists, and she did her own makeup. And I mean, this was something that was broadcasted international, and here we see her with the gray hairs. This is during her pregnancy, when she was 7 months pregnant with Prince George.
Right.
She didn't want to use hair color. She did a natural birth.
Well, you know, I mean, the whole thing about hair color while you're pregnant is that you're not supposed to color your hair. I did not subscribe to that, but that you're not supposed to color your hair because supposedly it's not good for your baby.
Yeah.
But Anne did her. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there was like so much controversy around it, and they're like, oh my God, how is she going out in public with gray hair? But you know,
she's normal. Yeah.
She looks good.
Normal. With
she
a lot
looks
of money.
good. She's a normal. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next spokesperson for natural is Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba has a company. I don't know if you know about this, called The Honest Company.
Yeah.
It's products that are non-toxic, organic for babies. And now she's coming up with a makeup line for women, which is natural. And, you know, up until now, we've heard celebrities doing endorsements for Coca-Cola,
L'Oreal,
Doritos, L'Oreal,
yeah,
or Cheerios, or all kinds of things that are less natural. Jessica Alba teamed up with Zico, the coconut water. we can see a clip from her advertisement with them.
Let's take a look.
Living a happy, healthy life is a choice that starts with treating yourself well. To celebrate our new campaign, follow my friends at Zico for 26 ideas to crack life open and make the most of the summer.
Yeah.
From A.
Naturally beautiful.
Naturally beautiful. She's gorgeous. Although when you said, you know, that she's going like the natural route, what terrifies me about this really is it brings, you know, thoughts about Goop. You know what Goop is? The Gwyneth Paltrow website. Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow has a website.
Right.
Seriously, girls, she has a website where everything is like made out of kale. I think even the website is made out of kale. And I personally think kale kills. But that's just
that's for another day. We're going to talk
different
kale
discussion
talk.
completely. But yes, Gwyneth Paltrow has tried that, but she's a weirdo. Alba is a beautiful woman.
Yes, yes, definitely. So even the Queen of Artificial herself. Who's the Queen of Artificial?
Wait, who's the Queen of Artificial?
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. Yes.
She has stripped down, not her clothes this time, but her makeup. Spanish Vogue. Look at the cover of Spanish Vogue. Okay, this is called the no makeup look. So she's not wearing makeup, but she is kind of like me. I'm not wearing makeup today.
Right. Yeah. I have to say that this is actually wow. Yeah. I have to say that for the no makeup makeup look, you gotta be under 40. I'm sorry, maybe.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. But, you know, here she is doing her Spanish Vogue look like I just woke up, just got out of bed.
But I'm still gorgeous.
Kind of like us.
Yeah.
And, you know, now she has this hashtag called Kim No Filter, where she's posting pictures of herself on Instagram. You know, Kim Kardashian was really, really famous for knowing all the apps that change and Photoshop your face.
Right.
So now she's got the hashtag Kim No Filter. Here you can see her with no makeup. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Totally.
So that's no makeup?
That is no makeup.
I'm not buying.
Believe it or not.
Yes, exactly.
So basically, now we have, it brings me to the no makeup look. No makeup is really trendy now. You know, the whole minimalism,
everything.
It's the new natural. So even if you don't have flawless skin, just like we talked about, you can still, you know, highlight your cheekbones, do minimal makeup. And have you guys heard of Yummy Lashes?
Right.
There's this new trend, like no mascara, no fake lashes.
No fake
they
lashes.
Boost and lift your eyelashes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The no makeup look.
This is a big trend right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean,
clearly
everything.
for women with not for women with flawless skin, such as myself. Yes.
Why? You can cover that up too. It looks like you have flawless skin.
Of course
What did you do?
Exactly nothing.
You did the no makeup look.
No makeup look, and there's a picture of me aging in the closet. Yes.
I'm learning that there's a solution to everything.
To every single thing.
Exactly.
But finally, there's also a summer flip-flops.
Yeah, there are summer flip-flops called Tikis. There's this brand. They came, you know, we're gonna go from the head to the feet. Their inspiration is foundations. So they took basically makeup colors, makeup tones to match your skin tone. So that it doesn't look like you're actually wearing shoes. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's really cool.
It looks like you're
Do they have pores also? Like, you know?
See, look, like they're wearing shoes, but you're not.
It's like, what are the numbers of makeup? It's like the makeup is numbers.
They have names. Like Sun-Kissed,
so it's like
Barely
your skin tone, barely there.
Exactly.
So it's like
look, Ava Longoria in the airport. Not wearing shoes in the airport. Look at her, barefoot, going barefoot.
We have a little clip about this as well. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So it's the natural summer.
Happy, natural, simple. You know, to sum it up, this trend is meant to have you look sun-kissed. I just woke up out of bed. Just came back from vacation. On a daily basis. Maybe by the end of the decade, we'll be like prehistoric man.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm actually wondering if it's minimally then next summer we're in togas. Woohoo! Maya, that was fabulous. You're locked in studio with us as we move to the political Instagram. segment of the week.
Yeah, we're going to be stuck in history today, but we're going to start with something that happened over the weekend, but it wasn't an Instagram event, but it was such a photography event, and one that I know you will probably be ecstatic about. So the U.S. National Archive releases more than 350 never-seen-before photos of the U.S. command after the attacks on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon on 9/11.
Unbelievable.
You know, I just have to say, you know how much I love to watch like all these American TV shows, The West Wing, House of Cards. This is it. This is the real deal.
This is it.
Like the photos here, we see Cheney, we see Condoleezza Rice, who was National Security Advisor. We see George Tenet, the head of the CIA. This is all before George, because Cheney was in command, because Bush was in Florida.
Bush was in the air for about 5 hours.
Exactly.
Bush would not be put down, and you know he was taken out of Florida, and then they wouldn't land the plane because they didn't know what the heck was going on, and he was supposed to be the safest man. Unbelievable.
And some of the expressions on their face, on their faces, are just priceless in that respect. It's just amazing to look at the photos. We see at some parts you can see Lynn Cheney inside too, Laura Bush, because they were supposed to be there. Because we just have to remember there was a concern, there was a fear that the White House itself would be attacked. This was like total chaos in the command of.
You look at Condoleezza Rice's face there. You look at Cheney, and this is, I mean, it's palpable that you feel the sense of war.
Amazing.
Inside, in those photographs, and it's terrifying to see because as I was saying, you know, Bush in the air, Cheney in command, but also quarantine sequesters in the bottom of the White House.
Basically, all hell is breaking out, right? Two planes just crashed into the Twin Towers in New York. It was like a horror movie.
Most Americans in the span of that 5 hours were convinced it's World War III and the world is coming to an end. Wow.
And probably some of them, they might have been concerned at the same time too. That you can see that on their faces.
Yeah,
but because of this, it gave us a chance, this whole thing, to discover an Instagram account by the U.S. National Archives. An amazing one for lovers of U.S. presidential history. We'll go over the few photos. This is the first one. This is the phone that was used by Nixon in the Oval Office to talk to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin as they arrived on the moon on the 20th of July 1969. By the way, it was the longest long-distance call ever. A next photo, we can see the buck stops here sign. It's from Truman's White House desk. You know, Obama visited the prison in Oklahoma last week. So this is from Truman's visit to the same visit. Then we have a photo of one of your favorites, I know. July 1972, Nixon learning to use chopsticks.
You know, it's fabulous because Nixon, you know, putting aside, you know, I'm not a crook, everything. This is the man who actually opened the door, you know, between America and communist states. And
yes, and China, and the whole Nixon-China Act has been discussed very thoroughly in the past few weeks in the wake of the Iran deal.
Trying to compare it to the Iran deal, exactly.
Yeah. Next photo, we have Gerald Ford.
So cute.
Yeah, also known as 38. This is when he's 3 years old. By the way, he wasn't. Reading the Post, I discovered that he wasn't born as Gerald Ford. He was He was born as Leslie Lynch King, but his name was changed after his mother remarried. So.
And I think Lynch King is much harder to sell as a president.
Definitely, Ford is a good name. Yes. Yeah. Next photo, really moving one. Omar Sharif. Who passed away this month in a White House dinner honoring one of your favorites, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat in 1975. Great. So this Instagram account is amazing. It's really good one.
This really shows also I mean, with this is how the Egypt gets closer to the United States. Exactly. It's amazing.
And happy 69th anniversary to Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. That is their wedding photo.
Oh, my word.
And when you look close, Jimmy Carter is really cute. He's like this young.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, I'm getting married. Yeah. She's got the expression of, oh my God, what have I done? No, but yeah.
She probably did her own makeup.
Exactly. Do we have time?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, so we'll do it quickly, but it's a great item, and we should discuss it probably thoroughly in a different occasion. You know, the president's visiting Kenya. This is apparently the 50th country that is that the President Obama has been visiting, and Pete Souza, our one and only, has decided in the next 50 days he's going to post one photo from each trip. So it's a special gallery, and so this is first visit, very well known here in Israel for not being here. 2009. 2009 visit to Cairo with the pyramids and the Sphinx. The next photo that he posted is from Russia, 2009, a family dinner, him speaking to Sasha, overlooking the Red Square. Then a visit to Burma, Myanmar in 2012. This is an unusual photo of the president because he actually asked to Pete Souza to take a snapshot of him. He usually doesn't do that. Exactly. He's really acting like a tourist. It's actually the most sacred Buddhist pagoda in the country and one of the oldest in the world. And Brazil, this is an amazing photo. Brazil 2011, Christ the Redeemer. They arrived, they had a delayed arrival. They had to postpone their arrival to the statue because of weather. And I just have to say, all of these photos that we saw today, thank God for official photographers of the White House and Pete Souza and his predecessors. They give us such an insight of what's going on and different angles of this very boring life of being a world leader. Yes. No,
and it's beautiful to see also that in the last 18 months, I think it is, that are left on the president's time, that these things are coming out almost to, to look back at his time in office. A legacy. Yes. All the time that we had.
Rewriting, one might say.
Amen. Maya, Tal, thank you for being with me on this Monday. Of course, do not forget to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, all those social networks. And tune in tomorrow morning to start your day with the morning edition, because you get to see us. That's it.